It's Thursday morning and this is the last day of my road trip, and we're heading out here presently from the motel. That's the Detroit Metro Airport there in the distance. But the agenda today was to go to Edsel and Eleanor Ford's mansion, but the tour is closed for January, so that's out. And we most certainly wanted to go to Henry's home, Ford Fairlane, and that is closed for several years for renovation, so that is out. So the game plan has been changed and we're heading toward home, which is 400 miles, but we will stop in South Bend, Indiana and go to the Studebaker Museum. So that's how I'll wrap up this vacation, this road trip. Alright, we're heading out Route 94 toward Chicago, but in fact we'll be going to South Bend, Indiana. Home of Studebaker, original makers of the Conestoga wagon that won the West. And I have never been there. Traffic is reasonably heavy here, and we're in Romulus, Michigan. Named after, of course, Romulus and Remus. Maybe I mentioned that in another video. The two little boys suckled by a wolf, as depicted in quite a famous statue, but I don't know where the statue is located. Airplanes landing. Kind of busy around here. We're on Route 80, right near South Bend. We've come about over 200 miles since Detroit, and now we hope to find the Studebaker Museum.
1¼ miles. Turn right on US 31 Business Route.
Taking this corner full speed. See the bank? We are here at the University of Notre Dame in South Bend. Football, anyone? Getting close here. Oh, look at that big stone house.
It's a museum.
Wow. What is that?
It's a history museum.
That's the History Museum. Awesome.
Arriving at 201 Chapin Street on the right.
This is it. We are here, and this is the Studebaker Museum. As far as I know, the original factory is all gone. Yeah, the staff is getting a pizza or something there. Okay, we're here. All right, in we go. This is going to be good. I have paid my admission and I'm in the Studebaker Museum, and this is going to be spectacular. There is nothing left of the original Studebaker factory. It was several blocks from here, and I just talked to the guard and it's all gone. But here's a recreation of the body drop onto the chassis. That's pretty neat. That's a 37. That's an 8-cylinder. This is a neat display showing how the 1960 Lark was assembled. This is the assembly line, and some archival photos of men putting the final touches on a Lark. If you're a Studebaker fan, you must come here. And out in this section we have, the lighting is, there's backlighting here, so this picture isn't going to be very good, but this is a 58 Packard Hawk. That's when Studebaker was affiliated with Packard. One of the last years. Actually, it's a pretty darn good looking car. As I mentioned previously, it all started with the Conestoga wagon.
Так, ты смотри так, чтобы ты видел меня. Вот так.
Imagine going to Oregon in this thing. There's John Studebaker from about 1850. Quite a nice historical display, and he was a blacksmith making these wagons. Here's a few tools of his trade. It all started with these Studebaker carriages. This is a 1857. This one's a bit on the depressing side. It's a hearse. Civil War era. There's a 1907 electric. A lot of the older cars here. There's John Studebaker again. And his wife, Rebecca. I think he called her Becky. And Studebaker sleigh. I guess I'd never thought of them making sleighs, but that's a beauty, isn't it? They made several electrics. Wasn't aware that they made electrics. They sure keep them shiny. And there's the factory, or the engineering building. And look at the logo there at the top with the arrow pointing to it. And here it is. And this ball here, this architectural ball, is off of the gate here. There's so many cars here, I just can't go through all of them and tell you what they are, other than to scan them like this. This is the Studebaker Factory in its glory days. It was a massive facility. This is a straight 8 engine out of a 1930 Studebaker President. A massive engine. A 1950 Studebaker bullet front end ragtop. What a beautiful car. This is a great day to be here because there are so very few people, the same as when we were at the Rouge. And they have invited people to sit in it, so I will do as so. Not a lot of room in the back seat. So in I go. It's a little dark in here. This car has a straight shift, and one thing I wanted to show you, and I remember this from when I was a kid, but I think it's too dark to show you this, but I'm going to use my iPhone if I can get the light on. Okay, I've got a flashlight now on the iPhone. Looking at the floorboard here, we have, of course, a accelerator, brake, and clutch. But on the floorboard here, we have two buttons. This button, illuminated, of course, is the dimmer switch, but the other button, a little bit higher up, that looks like it's a dimmer switch, is what was called the hill holder. So if you were on a hill and had to stop, you put the clutch all the way to the floor and it pushed against that button and held you, or that pushed the brake. So the brakes were on until you released the clutch and gave it some gas, had it in low gear, and away you could go without rolling backwards. You older guys know what I'm talking about. Abraham Lincoln's carriage. This display, very briefly, is when they made the transition from carriages and wagons to automobiles, which must have been a tremendous decision and opportunity, but yet great investment to get into a totally new field. This saddens me greatly. 1922 child's hearse with a child's coffin. All in white. That's a little hard to take when you think of children. Beautifully restored. Now this large stone S, and I can't tell whether it's limestone or concrete actually, but it came off the building. There's a picture of the building. I'm glad they saved these architectural details. What we have here is a display on making the wagon wheels. Pretty interesting, shows every step along the line of making, starting with the hubs, unloading spokes and wood. That alone is pretty interesting and worthy of being studied. And here's what they were making, of course. Spokes and the hubs. The Studebaker wagon seat. More of how the wheels are made. This architectural detail also evidently from one of the buildings, but I cannot find it labeled anywhere, but this is terracotta. And you can see where it has been removed from a building, and I'm always interested in terracotta, but it's just beautifully done. I believe it's terracotta. Here's a 53 Champion, and these were beautifully styled cars. In fact, I remember them when I was a kid. They were far ahead of anything else of that year. If you think back to what a 53 Ford looked like, this really looks like a sports car. And there's some information here about the styling and how they did that. A drawing board and a mock-up here, a clay model. And some archival photos of men working and planning, engineers, executives. Here's a 56 Flight Hawk, one of their last years. And of course they made trucks. This being a 61 Champ based on the Lark. Now as a side light here, I'm a big fan of South Bend lathes, and of course they were made here too. And here's a small display on the South Bend Lathe Company. And there's the plant, I believe. And Sibley made machinery as well. And there's a South Bend Lathe catalog, and I think I own that catalog. And a promotional there on their lathes. And then in the bed of the Studebaker Champ is a South Bend lathe. So let's see. I don't think I can get clear around to the other side. That's as close as I'm going to get, but that is very similar to a South Bend lathe that I borrowed from one of my friends that is in one of my videos. Here's another Hawk. Not sure what year that is. Come around to the front here. That was an Avante, one of their last cars. Here's another 63 Avante. Getting a little tune-up. I remember riding in one of these. That's a 47. They were a very durable truck. And I do not even remember ever seeing this station wagon. And she's a Woody. That's a 47. Champion. There's a 49 with suicide doors. This is a prototype. I'm glad they didn't go into production on that. That's not my favorite. Here's a little car with a bit of a truck box in the back. And that is a 41 delivery coupe.